So when we take ourselves seriously, we say, okay, how can I show up in my life? How can I be the best me? And how can I learn to trigger that best me, although that people around me may trigger the negative me? You know, how can I go back to that? And I think that one of the important things to do this is to see the big picture. It's like Pat said yesterday, that we need to see the whole, how do you say that, the holistiska perspektivet, holographic perspective, yeah. And we need to see the big picture. And of course, that means that a lot of times when we are trapped in problems or in the dot, as we said, we get into details, you know, and details will only trigger details because it's like you said, I said, this happened, and we're stuck in details. So an important thing is, of course, is to widen a little bit and to look at the big picture and say, okay, so this is normal, or this is how I do it. It's like I said with some of you that when you tell your own story and you see it as a movie, you say, oh, I can see with myself that when I'm the worst me, I react this and this way. It's perfect. Because just looking at it from the outside, first of all, I can see it. And the second thing, I can differentiate myself from it, so I'm not that feeling. And this is tricky. I remember when I was trained as a psychoanalysis trained, and I learned that you have to trust your feelings. And the only thing we know now when we look at science, that for sure we cannot trust our feelings a lot of times. So we have to, you know, acknowledge, is this an old feeling, and is it based on my core values, or is it an old habit of feeling, or is it a new feeling? So we have to look at it with a little bit of compassion and curiosity and say, is this a feeling that really belongs to me, or is something that I've been just dragging along? So looking at the big picture is, of course, also what we do, both of us, but we work so differently, Pat and I, and it's so interesting because we work very differently in dialogues and stuff with couples and therapists, but we do have the same core values, so we always come back to the same, you know, base. But we work very differently. And I'm thinking that one of the things we do, though, is to see the difference between now and then. Because, you know, looking at the brain and understanding the brain is very important, because it will make us look at ourselves and each other with soft eyes.
Sometimes it's easier to know yourself when you don't use words. And so one technique I often use, if you will hold the mic for me, is I say to a person, so what you're feeling right now, how much is about the past, old stuff, and how much is about now? How much is about, just you know, you can close your eyes or just think about, and you just show me how much. And this is what the client does. This is what the person does. Because intuitively, there's a part of us that knows, and it may not get up here or in language, but it's there. It lives in us.